SMQBs episode 132. And I got one number for you coming from Bison here in Washington, D.C. That number is $1.2 million. Do you know what that is? That is the amount in sale so far of the prime 21 gold sunglasses offered by Blenders Eyewear.
Wow.
Over the weekend.
Hold on, I need to write that down.
Yeah. These will look great on you, Rooster. 1.2 million in sales over the weekend. House, what's your one number from Philly?
My number is 0. 0 is the number of DeAndre Swift, who the Eagles picked up in the offseason and is now. Oh, sorry, Milk. Did you let him go? He's now a top 3 running back in the NFL, running for 178 yards last week. Incredible pickup.
I claimed him on waivers, Milk. I tried to get him for our game just to really screw you, but it wouldn't go through.
You can't. I don't think I immediately didn't try to get him again. And I'm like, I can't get him to the 20th? This sucks.
Rooster, what's your one number coming from Richmond?
My number is 15. 15-yard penalty against the safety from Colorado State. What is his name? Henry Blackburn. He should have been kicked out of that game for that cheap shot on Hunter, that Travis Hunter, that wound up lacerating his liver. I don't understand why he wasn't. A 15-yard penalty doesn't even come close to deterring that kind of behavior. They were clearly headhunting for the best guy on the field, and it's a damn shame that they got away with it. Now, having said that, Henry Blackburn and his family are receiving threats, apparently, and that's just wrong, and people need to get a life. I mean, it's just football.
Yeah.
Yep. Milk, give us a number from Tampa.
Well, it involves Tampa. I'm going to go with 6. That is the line in the Eagles-Bucks game next week. Eagles -6. Big, heavy favorites. So, we'll just be lucky to hang with them.
That's right.
Let's bake.
You want to join the We Hung with the Eagles Club.
Well,
7 days.
Let's get to it. House, NFL, right?
Guys,
we're down Pope, so we're
Oh, good. So we don't have to talk anything. We don't have to talk anything about
Talk
Dallas.
the Cowboys.
Right?
No Alabama, no Cowboys.
We should.
No, we're going to talk about Bama.
We'll talk Alabama. Yeah, we will.
We'll talk Alabama
for the last time, though.
All right, I got a whole bunch of questions for this week, but I got to start with this. What the F is going on with Joe Burrow?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right.
Milk, that's your guy.
He's got to be hurt.
Yeah, he's not. He was not ready to start this season.
And he re-injured himself Sunday, right?
Yeah.
Remember, I said I had a calf injury like that once, and the thing just never goes away. It just keeps coming back. It's already happened to him after 2 games.
Yeah. This Burrow, Jamar Chase collapse is, I mean, the Charger. We'll talk, I'm sure, about the class of 2020 quarterbacks and how it's been kind of up and down. The Chargers, when you think about it, lost a couple of close games, and I don't think we're seeing Justin Herbert regressing. I think he still looks like a good quarterback
with a horrible coach,
with a bad coach. But the Burrow thing through 2 games, it better be an injury, because they got real problems in Cincinnati. Which of those 2 teams do you guys think is still going to make the playoffs, or both, the Bengals and Chargers?
Bengals. We've seen this before from them. I think they've started slow in the past, including I think they made the playoffs going 0-2 one year.
Yeah, they did.
If there's a legitimate injury that has now gotten worse since Sunday, it's hard to go with Cincy. If we saw this in the preseason, without Joe Burrow, they are horrific.
I agree with that. You're right. Injury aside, I think the Bengals are in better shape. But you're right. If Burrow is actually really injured, then the Chargers have a better chance.
Who's their backup quarterback now?
I think it might be Andy Dalton or something like that.
Yeah.
He's back.
He's not back on that team, is he?
He's not. No, he's not. But I actually think they should bench Burrow for at least 1 or 2 games and let him recover from this, because they're going to have to turn it on in the second half to make the playoffs.
Apparently, it's Jake
Browning.
Who the hell is that?
Never heard of him.
Where did he play?
Walmart paint aisle.
Oh my
No, Washington.
God.
He's a rookie.
I kind of remember him.
Oh,
I kind of
Washington?
Yeah, I kind of remember him. Yeah.
Okay.
He was supposed to be way better and then he kind of faded. Like he was supposed to come out of college a year before, and he would have been drafted higher. And then I think he didn't have as good of a season as last year there. Anyway, which one of you guys were the ones that was like president of the Jordan Love fan club?
Me.
Are you still there?
Yeah. I think he's ready.
You do?
Yeah, I think he's basically a rookie, so he's not going to have game after game of greatness, but he looked solid week 1, and he's got the tools. Week 2, they slipped a little, lost to Atlanta. I mean, who was it? Atlanta? They, who would have predicted that? But I think he has the tools to be a good quarterback.
I think the Bears are a very bad team.
The Bears are a really bad team. And I think both Bison and I were the ones who were like, what is the deal with this Justin Fields stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because he had a decent fantasy season last year. Come on, he stinks.
I saw
Ohio State quarterbacks are for forever in the NFL.
Yeah.
You know who else isn't good? The Raiders.
Right.
The Raiders are bad.
With Jimmy G. Not good.
That was predictable. Yeah. I'll tell you what I didn't predict, and don't think many did, is that Trevor Lawrence and the Jags are terrible this year so far. They scored 9 points yesterday.
Yeah, that was
the Chiefs.
But I thought their defense played well. I mean, I think if you hold the Chiefs to 17, that's pretty good. So I think their defense is okay. Their defense seemed to be flying all over the place. But question, what's going on with the Chiefs?
Well, the Chiefs were number 1 in a must-win situation, literally a must-win situation after week 1. They played week 1 without Travis Kelce. They got him back. He scores a touchdown in week 2. They're playing on the road at I think it was a rematch of the championship game against the Jags. So it's a real team that they're playing. I think it was maybe Rooster who said this last week, but what we're watching right now for many teams is preseason. They did not play preseason games, maybe a drive for most of the elite stars. And what we're seeing now is their preseason. And I think once they get their preseason games of 1, 2, 3 behind them, you'll see the usual magic from most of these guys, including Mahomes. I think what we're seeing is that the Chiefs preseason. And, both the Chiefs and the Jags are 1-1. The Jags lost the Super Bowl champ. The Chiefs had to win. They scraped by. I think the more interesting thing is the Chiefs lost in week 1 to the Lions, who, wow. I mean, the Seahawks go in there, and I know they're okay, but
before, wait a minute.
Shocking.
2 weeks ago, we were saying Seattle was going to be good.
Right.
I mean,
I think they are good. I think they're a good team.
People were saying. I think the thing about the Chiefs, I don't want to leave that yet. I think they're missing Biennemy. I think there's a real question there about not having Eric Biennemy around.
That's a fair point.
Yeah,
that is a fair point.
Especially given the dynamic Washington offense these days, huh?
Well, at least, yeah. I mean, listen, we put up 35 points. I think it's the first time in like 6 years we put up 35 points. So,
I thought for sure you're going to lose when the Hail Mary hit, by the way.
Well, I mean, listen, I felt like I thought for sure we were going to lose when it was 21-3 with 9.5 to go in the second quarter. So, I mean, it was a weird game. but
very weird game.
Washington does have weapons and can move the ball and score points, and that's, I think a lot of that is Biennemy. I think he's a good coach, a good coordinator.
So you guys will remember my championship fantasy football run last year that one of the things that propelled me.
I blocked it out. Did you win?
Did you win that?
Did you win last
I
year?
don't remember that at all, actually.
I don't remember you winning.
I remember mine.
One of the things that propelled me to victory was picking up late season Jerick McKinnon, who was like a great find off the waiver wire. I think Eric Biennemy is going to start using the Washington running back sometimes in a McKinnon type role. There was an explosive play that was basically a little dump pass to Brian Robinson yesterday. That was it. I mean, you saw the play run 100 times last year it's a simple, straightforward play, but it's not something that you were consistently seeing from the Washington offense last year. He's definitely an upgrade. He knows the talent that he has on this offense, and he's using it, and he's playing to the player's strengths. He's distributing the ball. And I'm not saying, that Howell has to be like a guy just that drives the bus, because I think he has to be more than that. But I think he's at least a bus driver. I'm not ready to like put him on a pedestal and say he's one of the top 10, but he knows how to manage a football game. He certainly did yesterday.
Look, he's playing well. I mean, he played well. It's his third game as starting in the NFL. But I think we're about to see that team go to 2-1 when Buffalo comes into town this weekend. So that'll be an interesting test to see how they do.
Are they playing Antonio Gibson and Robinson together at all?
Not really. Gibson has a fumbling problem. He only got a couple touches yesterday because he fumbled in the red zone against Arizona, and that ain't cool.
Right.
So
he's a better receiver, though.
Touches. He is, and he ran some screen plays that picked up big yards. So
guess who is the Chiefs' offensive coordinator that replaced Biennemy? That offensive juggernaut that was coaching the Bears for 4 years, Matt Nagy.
Oh, Matt Nagy. That's right. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
So there's your answer. There's your answer about the Chiefs.
Why do you read these retreads? What are you doing?
Right.
How about instead of just talking about negatives, who's your surprise good team this year? Like better than you expected good?
Well, I mean Commanders started 2-0, and I guess we have to talk about Milk. I mean, how is Baker Mayfield and that ragtag of a team 2-0? Milk, how is it?
Milk, it's time to bake.
Who have you beaten so far, Milk?
Exactly, right? Like we've beaten
the Vikings are a good team. The Vikings are a good team.
They're 0-2.
They're 0? Yeah. I mean, they lost the Eagles.
They have a terrible defense, but Cousins he's put up a lot of yards so far this year.
I told House a couple weeks ago that I wasn't buying into this. Look, we were the victims of Tom Brady leaving, so your first instinct is like, well, they have to be terrible now. But we have a lot of players on that team. The defense is pretty much intact. You saw it
healthy
yesterday.
Again. Yeah.
Shaq is back. Like, it's not a 5-win team. I'm not saying they're going to win 10 games, but I have them at eight wins, something around that, which would be better than what the experts think. They're okay. I mean, I don't trust Baker Mayfield. I remember when Fitzmagic started us off at 2-0, and I think we ended the season like 5-11 or 5-12. So
I think if you're talking about exciting, surprise teams, they were good-ish last year, but Miami,
right? Exactly.
The Dolphins look like the class of the AFC right now.
They're a top 5 team in the NFL right now, I think.
Yeah.
They're so loaded on offense. I mean,
you think you have the Bills? You have the Bills ahead of them, House?
2 is great. I think Mostert is below average. Waddle is, I think, in the concussion protocol now.
Yeah, of course he is, because I drafted him.
I think they're there. And will definitely compete for the AFC, but I'm not sold as them being like going to the Super Bowl. Yes, top top 10 team, top 5, I'm not so sure about. By the way, if the Saints win tonight over the Panthers, you have 3 teams in the disgustingly bad NFC South that are 2-0. So make sense of that.
Yeah. No. We're only 2 weeks in.
Do you believe in the Falcons?
I don't know. I mean, no, I don't. Again, who they beat the Panthers, right? Okay, they suck.
And the Packers.
And I'm not buying into the Packers. I
not,
mean, it's still too early. It's like Hal said, we're in the preseason still.
We're in the preseason, that's true, but only 8 teams out of 32 are 2-0. And 3 of them are the Bucks, the Falcons, and the Commanders. That's not something we would have predicted.
Yeah. All could lose next week.
Yeah.
So
all right, let's ask the question I put in the text. And this is at least 50% legitimately asked. Were the Cardinals throwing that game to the Giants?
No way.
No
way. Nope. The Cardinals are a notoriously fast starting team, and then they fade every year, right? Remember when they were 9-0 and we were all like, "Oh, the Cardinals are a great team," and then they lost like.
Wasn't that game 28-7 at one point?
I think was it 28-0?
I don't know if it was.
No, you're right. It wasn't. It was 28-7.
They were up.
It might have been 21.
The Giants scored 24 unanswered points.
Yeah.
They were up 20-0 at halftime. Okay,
Yeah.
You're not supposed to blow 20-point leads. And then they got up to 28-7 in the middle of the third quarter and lost that game because maybe they want Caleb Williams.
Well, why were they playing so hard in the first 6 quarters of the season then? I mean, they balled it out for 4 quarters in the game 1 and then for 2 in game 2.
Well,
are you suggesting clicked with the Giants?
Wait. Did they ball out in Washington, Bison?
They played as hard as they can play. They're not a good team.
They played hard. Yeah, they're not a good team. They played hard.
The thing is, the Giants are not the team that sucked ass for 6 quarters to start the season. They're not that bad. They're just not. They've had a bunch of injuries. Some weird things haven't worked out right. Andrew Thomas wasn't starting. They were adjusting to Pert playing left tackle, and he's not even good enough to play right tackle. Their offensive line is like a sieve right now, so they had to adjust, and it finally clicked. They're a better team than the Cardinals.
I think Daniel Jones is a fraud, and I don't believe at all in the Giants. But the thing about the NFL is it's really hard to tank because guys go out there and there's so much pride. I mean, it's a physical fight. I mean, football is a fight. It's not the NBA where you just lollygag and you don't cut hard and you don't play defense. I mean, these guys, if they don't play hard, you get punched in the mouth. I mean, that's literally what happens. So it's pretty hard to tank in the NFL, I think.
Well,
these guys are playing for pride.
I'll tell you what, if we had lost to the Cardinals, I would have been all in favor of tanking for an offensive lineman.
And I would have been releasing Daniel Jones for my fantasy team.
Yes,
maybe
right?
I'll keep him another week.
Let me say this about the NFC beast. The NFC runs through that division. They're playing very well. The Giants, their last 8 games last year were not very good. Their first 6 quarters were a little scary. So I think Pope can enjoy the first 4 games of going 4-0 against the Giants, the Jets, the Cardinals, and the Patriots. But, welcome back to the real world in week 5 when you play at the 49ers and that team smokes you. So we'll see Dallas through 4 weeks. We say it every year on this pod that the path to victory for the NFL teams is in large part, injury avoidance. How lucky can you get to avoid the key injuries that can decimate your team? The Giants are good. They just lost Saquon for 3 weeks. and he's the engine that drives that offense in many ways.
Is that right?
I mean,
he's out 3 weeks?
Yes.
I hadn't heard that yet. Okay.
Yeah. So Saquon's out 3 weeks. The Eagles squeaked by in that game because they had a patchwork secondary, and they're dealing with injuries. They just lost one of their starting quarterbacks for the full season to a torn pec. So, if you have a key player on your team that has a serious injury that's, weeks long or season long, it could change the whole dynamic of the whole season. And so it's early yet. We'll see how the injury bug catches teams. I guess we haven't really lost a quarterback yet, right? So
well,
far,
I don't know.
Well, we don't know about Burrow.
Don't you have someone to apologize to, House? Maybe an injury yesterday that happened to a quarterback?
Oh. Well,
yeah.
I'm not going to say you jinxed him. But
hey, before you get there, though, let me just say, watch out for Matt Breida. Take that to the bank.
Okay. Well,
wait. Yeah, I mean, let's go back to the Giants for a second, because if Saquon's out 3 weeks, I mean, that's at San Francisco.
Loss.
Home against Seattle.
Loss.
At Miami.
Loss.
I mean, the Giants are staring at 1-4.
I'm never starting Daniel Jones again. That was
hard to come back. I mean, yeah, Daniel Jones gonna have a rough game at San Francisco without Saquon.
You can have him, Rooster. I'm putting him on the waiver wire.
I owe an apology. I'm a superstitious person. We can affect people just with our own texts. And I was crowing about all the people that mocked me for selecting Anthony Richardson as my fantasy quarterback, thinking that he wasn't capable. He ran out and scored 17 fantasy points in the first quarter. So I started pounding on my chest how great Anthony Richardson was, and then got a little blurb across the bottom of my screen that Anthony Richardson was out in the concussion protocol.
And within like 20 minutes of your text.
Oh, I think it was like 20 seconds of the text.
And tell the listeners who your backup quarterback was after the draft.
It was Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, God.
Oops.
Oh, God.
But guess what? I got Matt Staff, and he's found a rebirth.
If you'd like to trade for Daniel Jones, I'm interested.
Maybe we'll talk.
All right.
I have Dak on my bench.
Oh,
he looked okay yesterday.
They're a defensive team.
Yeah.
Yes, correct.
Pope's going to win our fantasy league because he has the Cowboys defense.
Well, and because he has Devontae Smith and Jalen Hurts too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So annoying.
All right.
What else on NFL? Anything else on NFL?
I think
before we get to our locks.
I think that's pretty much it on the NFL. But there was a really, really good Plaxico locks week. So let me tell you just how good.
Oh God, no, let's not.
Well, you had an issue, didn't you?
I did.
Let's see. Issue. In week 2, let me find my little notes here. In week 2, the SMQBs went 4-1, fellas.
Yeah, baby.
We are not last year's Plaxico lock pickers. Milk did take the Lions -6, and so he dropped to 1-1. But Pope got back in the win column with the win taking Cowboys -3.5, so he's at 1-1. Bison took the Commanders, who covered +3.5 on the road. He's at 1-1. But someone's going to have to keep up with Rooster and House, because Rooster took the Chiefs -3. He moved to 2-0. House took the Dolphins -2.5. He moved to 2-0. So here we are in week 3. We already have a pick on the board. Pope can't join us, but he has taken Seattle -4.5 at home. They are playing, who was that again?
Carolina.
So
that's a good pick.
Pope
I don't even see a line on that game right now on the score.
4.5?
I don't see a line.
We verified that in a backup on CBS Sports behind score.
Interesting. God, I would bet the house on the Seahawks.
Well,
That just scared me off.
Yeah, you're never a very good bettor.
So he wasn't willing to go with the Cowboys at 12.5.
Carolina in Seattle? Okay. Something's weird there.
Rooster, are you ready with yours?
I am also taking Seattle.
Okay. It's going to be interesting. All right. Bison?
I'm taking the Cowboys.
12.5, right?
12.5.
That's a good. That was my second choice. I think they're going to cover that.
Yeah, they'll cover.
Minus 12.5 on the road. That's always dangerous. Wait, who took Bison? You took the Cowboys?
Yep. I'm not happy about it. I'm not happy about it.
Milk?
Well, before the Seattle game, I really liked Frisco. Now that I know that Saquon's out.
Yeah. How about the Rams plus 6.5 at Cincinnati with no Joe Burrow?
I gotta go with Seattle.
Yeah.
It's just too tempting. But I like San Fran. They are a very good football team.
How about Baltimore at home against the Colts?
That's where I am, Rooster. That's my pick for this week. I think we may not see Anthony Richardson this week. I think with the concussion protocol, I think they're going to
do it. Gardner Minshew, don't do it.
He is a very talented quarterback, but the Ravens really haven't put up a show yet, so I'm going to go with the Ravens minus 7.5.
Oh, you guys will pay for that.
Oh boy.
There you have it.
Oh boy.
We're done with the NFL.
So we got House with the Ravens minus 7.5.
Yep. We got Milk, Rooster, and Pope with Seattle minus 4.5.
That's interesting. Good job,
and
guys.
we got Bison with the Cowboys minus 12.5. And we are done with the NFL for this week.
Milk. Let's talk a little college football. I feel like you have something you probably want to get off your chest.
I think I like to get off my chest. I didn't make last week's pod, but I did listen to it. And I recall, I think it was Pope said.
It was Pope.
It was Pope. It was definitely Pope.
It was Tennessee's going to beat that ass. Did I get that right?
No, I think it was bitch slap.
Bitch slap. Oh,
bitch slap.
Okay. I just want to say, Pope, holy shit, were you wrong? That's the worst take I've ever heard in my entire life. The complete opposite happened. We actually bitch slapped Tennessee. There was no Dixieland Delight playing in Knoxville on Saturday night. They got their ass kicked, and they still have not won since the early 2000s in Gainesville. The streak is alive. Billy Napier is off my hot list, at least for a week or two. Huge win for the Gators, and just a very unfortunate loss for Tennessee fans. And they'll go back to doing whatever they do in Knoxville as their season is over.
When was the last time Tennessee was relevant?
They were kind of relevant last year when they beat Alabama. Well,
yeah,
it's kind of.
They were.
It was exciting for us, at least. Look, week 2 was interesting. I kind of thought it was just a traditional week 2, bunch of people playing some good teams playing scrub teams, but it was actually a lot more exciting and may have led to more questions than anything. FSU goes up to, Nace's Boston College. Chestnut Hill, baby. My God.
Which lost to Illinois, by the way. Lost to Illinois in the week 1.
They lost Illinois, and they beat Holy Cross by 3 points in the home opener. Holy Cross, the notorious juggernaut of college football. I thought I saw Nace in the stands at one point.
You did not.
I have to say, FSU looked like dog shit. we saw them play LSU, a complete game, looked unbeatable, national championship. I saw a completely different FSU team. Now, every team has a game like this. So all the good teams have a game that they're supposed to blow out, and it's a close win. They squeak by, and I know it was away, but they couldn't run the ball. Lots of penalties. The Boston College quarterback ran for over 100 yards on their defense. A lot of third down conversions for them. Just a really bad BC team that I'm telling you, they were a drive away from winning that game.
Go Eagles.
Yeah.
Go
so
Eagles.
where's FSU? We'll know more Saturday. They go to Clemson, which is a little bit more interesting than maybe I thought a couple weeks ago. Georgia looked very mortal, losing 14-3 at half. Carson Beck didn't even throw a touchdown pass in the game. It just threw for about 280 yards. They looked very beatable. So a lot of questions with Georgia. That game was at Georgia too. So I know South Carolina is supposed to be good this year, but they got blown out by North Carolina in the first game. And I know they have Spencer Rattler, but still just a kind of a very interesting situation there. The conference that honestly is the most exciting in college football that none of us get to watch because we're on the East Coast is the Pac-12. It continues to be Michael Penix. I said it. He's my Heisman Trophy winner. Prediction went off again. I'm telling you, the Pac-12 is a video game. These quarterbacks are putting up unbelievable. They're throwing for 4 or 5 touchdowns a game, 400, 500 yards. Cameron Ward for Washington State. Washington State's 3-0. He threw for like 5 TDs. Penix is unbelievable. Oregon State's got the Clemson transfer. Of course, Caleb Williams.
While you're there, let me ask you guys if you know this. Which college team leads the country in plays of 10 yards or more per game?
That's
Talking
a good
about
one.
explosive teams.
It's in the Pac-12.
Oregon
is my prediction.
Colorado.
I'll go with Washington.
Oregon.
Try Notre Dame.
The Notre Dame Fighting Irish.
Okay.
Really?
Wow. Notre Dame.
This guy
All right.
Hartman is making a huge impact on that school.
Yeah. No, he is. He had another 4 TD performance this past weekend. The highlight of the weekend, I think everybody tuned in for was the Colorado State game. I mean, we already talked about the Travis Hunter.
It was like an episode of Ballers.
Yeah, right.
I can't take my eyes off Colorado. We were watching Florida, Tennessee, and I'm like, oh, the game doesn't kick off till 10. This is magical. Go home, put it on. Colorado State, I care about. It's nuts. I will say this: the dream ends next week for Colorado. They are going to Oregon, who is fantastic. Bo Nix is having a resurgent year.
They're gonna get waxed.
Never know. You never know. They're learning a lot every game. Every game they're learning a little bit more.
Without Travis Hunter, they're gonna get waxed.
Travis Hunter gone. Their defense is suspect. Colorado State's quarterback threw all over them. I think. Look, Colorado is a very good. They were an awful team last year. They are a good team. They're not great. And they have USC after Oregon too.
Did you guys see 60 Minutes with Coach Prime last night?
No, I wanted to see that.
What he said, who's the best coach in college football?
Me.
And Prime says,
you're looking at him.
Do you have a mirror? I want to look right at him when I answer this question.
So funny. What a character.
We'll see what he says after he gets waxed next weekend. This Saturday, huge. This is an exciting weekend. The first exciting weekend. FSU, Clemson, Colorado, Oregon, UCLA, Utah.
How about OSU, Notre Dame?
I'm getting there. Ohio State, Notre Dame, Ole Miss at Bama, and let's talk about Bama for a second.
Yes, let's please.
I've got this game circled as one of the more exciting games on the menu. Oregon State at Washington State. You don't get a chance to watch these teams. Watch that game. Watch Cameron Ward. He's unbelievable. Ohio State, Notre Dame doesn't get better than that. That environment's going to be ridiculous. So big.
Penn State,
Yeah,
Whiteout.
Penn State's going to be a good game too.
Penn State, yep, they're undefeated. So let's go back to Bama for a second, because I want to get y'all's thoughts on this. So Bama goes to USF this past weekend, who is atrocious. Okay, they can't figure out who their quarterback is. The guy they started on Saturday didn't finish. They're on their third quarterback now. Their offensive line was, I can't believe I'm going to say this, like manhandled by USF's defensive line. That's like 3-star players. I feel like it's starting to slip away, right? You're starting to see.
What is wrong with Alabama that in 2 games they're through 3 quarterbacks? Is it 2 games? They haven't played 3 games, have they?
They played 3 games.
3 games.
On their third quarter.
Yeah, they struggled in week 1 with Middle Tennessee State winning 56-7.
Okay, right. But I mean, really, they were that quick to pull those first 2 guys.
Well, not to mention, look at Texas. I don't know if you guys watched the Texas game this last weekend. They're fooling around with Wyoming for 4 quarters. I mean, it was like 10-7. I don't know how good. I don't know. Bama is in a really. I've not seen Bama in this situation in probably 10, 15 years, and you're starting to see. If you go back and you think about
delicious, isn't it?
It is delicious.
We couldn't. The only other person who's as happy as the 4 of us is Pope's dad.
Right. But if you think about like their quarterbacks, I mean, you saw like last night, the 2 quarterbacks on Sunday Night Football were Bama grads. You got Bryce Young, Jalen Hurts. Eventually you're going to miss, right? And that's what happened. They don't have this all-star quarterback anymore for the first time in a very long time.
Not been outside. They've not been outside the top 10 since 2015. They lost 70% of their starters last year. I think you're right. I mean, Pope would weigh in more here, obviously, if you were here, but I'm not sure they prioritized the quarterback, because the fact that neither of these guys can really throw the ball. If you set aside that Middle Tennessee State game, they scored 24 points one week, 17 points the next week. That's not Bama football.
And I'm telling you, I've never seen an O-line get beat like they were on Saturday. Not an Alabama offensive line. And, I think, look, this is bound to happen. And first of all, think about you get victim of your own success. Think about the coaching carousel there, right? All of these coaches have come in, they've left. And I just think they're a good team. They're not a bad team, but they're not Alabama great anymore. And I think Ole Miss can go in there this weekend and beat them. And they might be out of the top 25.
Be good for football, really.
Yeah.
Tulane hung for 3.5 quarters with Ole Miss, and I got to see them up close watching that game. They have 2-star players, a running back and a wide receiver, who didn't play this week against Georgia Tech. This Judkins running back and the wide receiver Harris. If they don't play, it'll be a cakewalk for Bama. If they play, those 2 guys are very talented, and I think it's going to be a very good game, very close. Very close. We'll see if both teams are playing healthy.
Yeah. Bama's got problems. So anyways, it's huge. This is the first real exciting weekend of matchups in college football. So we'll see what happens.
All right.
Go Gators.
Roll wave.
All right. Who's got a punch?
I think Rooster did it. You should punch him again.
Yeah, he's been punched. I got another punch. This is the one I told you that we're gonna have to figure out a different name for this. I don't know what you would call the 4 of us holding someone down and kicking him in the face until he went unconscious. But that's what Kevin Porter Jr. is getting.
Oh man.
Former Houston Rocket. They're going to release him or trade him soon. I mean, this guy is, again, he's a repeat offender. They knew what they were getting, I think, eventually with him. He's only like 23 years old. He's already been arrested for trying to assault his girlfriend with his vehicle, crashing it into hers while he had a gun in the car and weed. And then, he in 2019, the Cavaliers drafted him in the first round and ultimately traded him to Houston, which signed him for a 4-year, $82.5 million extension just last October. So this again is a guy who's just like, hey, how do I be smart and protect my investment? Oh, I know. I'll try to choke my girlfriend to death and break her neck in the process. I mean, what a scumbag. This, I don't know, this poor woman who's been with him through both of these incidents. I hope she gets some help and gets the hell away from this guy, because he's a psychopath. He tried to strangle her. He broke her vertebrae in her neck. He gave her a big gash by punching her multiple times in the face over her eye. He's just a piece of shit and needs to be kicked in the face, not just punched.
Apparently, it's been going on with this guy for a long time. I mean, some of the basketball players that have known him since high school says this guy's been a bad dude since high school. He doesn't belong in the NBA. He doesn't belong anywhere. He belongs behind bars, where he belongs.
Rooster, you said he's going to get released. Is the NBA going to do anything?
No. The Rockets have announced if they want to trade him, if someone will take him. If not, they're going to release him. And he was a good player on their team.
The Rockets were literally offering their own draft pick,
right,
and him to take him away from.
Yeah.
He just needs to go.
Yeah. Any other punches? All right, who's got a lasso?
I have a lasso.
Oh, good.
It's a feel-good story about a team, and I don't care so much because it's not a National League Baseball team, so I can talk about it. Milk's not going to be very happy about this, but Milk likes to celebrate teams that are low payroll teams that are in small media markets, and he celebrates those. So I think Milk will join in on a celebration for the Baltimore Orioles. Yesterday, in a thrilling 11-inning game, the Baltimore Orioles ended a long drought, beating the Rays in 11 innings. This team started the season with a $60 million payroll, as second to last in all of Major League Baseball. They are now at $100 million, which would rank them 23rd in all of baseball. They're the 28th media market in the U.S. It's a small market, and they're playing with a bunch of young guns that develop from their own farm. Mm-hmm. And they're playing baseball the right way in a division that everybody said this is the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Blue Jays, and the Rays to win. Orioles will have somewhere between, 80 to 100 losses, and it'll be another year of wait till next year. And here they are, either tied for first, maybe a game up, but they've clinched a playoff spot. And I don't have a lot of good things to say about their owner, but I do have a lot of good things to say about their fans. They've been a long-suffering fan base that are pretty supportive of their team in a great ballpark that was the original changeover ballparks of all the other ballparks.
Yep.
Copied Camden Yards. And I think it's a feel-good story for the fans of Baltimore in particular. So, Milk, I'll let you put the lasso around Baltimore and celebrate them.
I assume you're gonna give a lasso to the Rays,
right? I have to say, as much as I hate the Rays, mostly because I hate Kevin Cash, because the guy makes his living hating the Yankees. I have to say, I'm thrilled to death for the Orioles. I've been telling you guys all year. As soon as the Yankees were out of it, I was rooting for the Orioles and the Reds, just because I think baseball needs those teams back. But Jesus, the Rays have a similar payroll, and they've had like half their starting pitching staff has been out on injured reserve,
and our franchise players going to prison.
That's right. And I mean, they still, I don't know how in the hell they've already locked up a wild card spot, and they were in it till the end for the division. So I have to
Sure.
take my hat off to the Rays. They've done a hell of a
you.
job with what they had to work
Thank you.
with this year.
I just want to
Thank
make
you. Thank you.
one comment about the feel good Orioles story and the 28th largest media market thing. That's a little misnomer there because they steal from the Nationals media market. They literally are stealing from the Nationals every season. They're stealing the Nationals media money. So let's just chill out on that because, yes, Baltimore is a small market and they do have a beautiful ballpark that I have had several very fond memories of going to games at. But, they are a bunch of thieves at the end of the day.
Oh my God. Bison, who was the genius for the Nats who negotiated a deal with the Orioles for a network called Maryland Sports Network, and then basically left it up to the Orioles to decide how much they're going to get at the end of the
You know who did it?
Yeah.
Bud Selig when he moved the team because the Major League Baseball took control of the Expos before they moved them. They bought back the franchise. So Major League Baseball executed that. The Lerner family got stuck with that. And the Lerners we could punch several times. I won't get into that now. But anyway, I just think that there should be that little caveat there about the small media market. Fuckers. All right.
That was a feel-good story right there.
Yeah. All right. Who's got? Let's see. It's buzzer beater time. Who's got something for us? Rooster, what do you got?
Well, before we get to a buzzer beater, along the lines of a lasso, I would just like to extend some warm wishes, prayers, whatever's your thing, to Stetson Bennett. I don't know what's going on with him, but I've suspected for a while that there was something going on with him because he seems like a high character guy, a solid guy. And do you remember shortly after the national championship, he showed up at someone's doorstep drunk and got arrested? Seemed kind of out of character for him, like something was going on. And now clearly something's going on with the Rams where they've refusing to say why he's taken a leave of absence. I mean, all indications are he's having a mental health issue, which I hope isn't true. But if it is, get some help and get well, Stetson.
Did they release him?
No,
No,
they're just giving him space. I think they're doing the right thing.
Not non-football injury list.
Yeah.
Interesting.
He had a hell of a preseason.
That sucks.
Yep.
I'd like to express my disappointment with the city of St. Petersburg, Florida, for coming to an agreement with the Rays to put a freaking stadium there. I hate it. I hate the idea. I hate the location. I hope the stadium doesn't look like the mock-ups that came out today. That is not a good-looking stadium. I hate everything about it, really. That stadium should be in Tampa where it belongs. And I don't know. I'll see you in 5 years, I guess, when you finally build it. Screw you, St. Pete.
I got a buzzer beater. Following up on last week's buzzer beater about the wild card race, more so in the National League. I know the wild card is relatively new in the format of 3 teams, but 6 teams, all with plenty of opportunity to make the wild card race in baseball, is nuts. I think you can probably cross off the Giants. I think they have 2 series. They're 2 games back of the wild card. They're in 6th, and they've got 2 series remaining against the Dodgers. And I think the Dodgers are still going to play baseball, and they're very good. So I think they got a problem. But the Reds have a cake of a schedule remaining. I think, like Rooster said, it would be great for baseball. Frankly, I think it's good for baseball anytime the Cubs are in the playoffs. They've been in a free fall, and I hope they get it back together. They've lost 5 in a row. I hope that they get it back so they can hold on. They're technically tied with the Marlins right now. And the Diamondbacks have had a resurgence, and they've got this, this guy that's running away with the Rookie of the Year with Corbin Carroll and the very good starting pitching staff. So we'll see. It is really, really going to be a fun postseason. until the Braves and Dodgers run away with it, whoever wins from the National League. Sorry, Milk, but that's what's going to happen. No one's beating those juggernauts.
Look, the Braves are ridiculous. So
The Braves and the Dodgers are both ridiculous.
Yeah.
Well, I got a buzzer beater. My our long international nightmare is over. Max Verstappen has lost
Yes.
a Formula One race. Congratulations to Carlos Sainz Jr. Yeah, yep. Who hung on in the Singapore Grand Prix. The Singapore Grand Prix being a street circuit and a night course, which is pretty cool. That's a fun race to watch. And the Red Bulls just didn't have the cars. Both Verstappen and Perez didn't get through P2, qualifying 2. And so the podium was Sainz, Lando Norris, and Sir Lewis Hamilton. And on top of that, it was a super fun race. I was wondering, like, is that what all the racing is like when Verstappen is usually 45 seconds ahead of everybody and we're just watching him and we don't pay attention to all this, or was this different because it was incredibly entertaining and not just because Max wasn't dominating everybody else. It was just a great race, and George Russell really shit the bed and blew it. But the strategy was great. Science was brilliant. And it was a lot of fun to see someone other than the Red Bulls on the podium.
Yep.
Good one.
Good pick, Milk.
Anybody else? Anybody got anything else?
I'm going to make a prediction. I'm going to say that by week 5 of this season, Brandon Staley is gone from the Chargers.
No way. Really?
Wow.
And I'm also going to say this, which is going to be controversial. I think Robert Saleh is not a good coach of the Jets.
Wow.
He's not in any danger of being fired because they love him. But these guys are already out tweeting, pointing fingers at each other after one loss. That they're 1-1, and the team's just savaging each other. It's
the writing is
silly.
on the wall.
Yeah.
By the way, just to follow up on a story from last week. Last week we punched Michigan State and Coach Mel Tucker for a sexual harassment situation, and news breaking today that Michigan State plans to fire Tucker. So I guess good for them, I guess. I mean, it seems like it took 8 or 9 months to get there, but I guess they're getting to the right place. So that's just by way of update. I still think they should both get punched.
They should have fired him anyways after last weekend's performance.
Right. All right, guys. Anything else?
Next week, except for you, Milk.
Oh.
Rivalry week.
Rivalry week.
Rivalry week on the SMQBs.
I can't wait.
All right, guys. Have a good week, everybody. Good show.
Can't wait till the Giants play the Commanders after the abuse that Bison heaped on me tonight.
I'm gonna keep it coming too. You're going 1-4, baby. See y'all.